SoundCloud, and iTunes.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into game, baby.
Yeah, baby.
Okay, so we got a Heimerdinger ban and a Zoe ban, and as they pointed out on the desk, Zoe makes a lot of sense to be banned against anyone, but especially against Niski. The Nocturne follows through as well, and Splyce are banning out some funnel champs.
But they need to ban Aatrox, but I also want to see them ban Camille, because that's been Amazing's go-to champion out of the jungle.
Well, you only get one man.
But you have to ban Aatrox, so you have to leave Camille open, I think, unless they have something crazy planned.
We'll
but I don't have much faith in the crazy.
I don't know, 5 seconds. They have to decide very quickly. It's Tali.
Oh.
It's neither. Ender, is it happening? We got an Aatrox.
It happened. I actually didn't think it was possible. I thought it was 100% every single game a red side ban. That means Splyce did this intentionally. They have some sort of idea of what they want to play against. I think the champion I've heard floating around most has been the Fiora, something with a little bit of mobility, sustain in the side lane that can beat it out. But you're going to have to put resources into Odwamne if you want to try and take this champion down.
All right, so Splyce react by locking themselves in a Rakan and a Swain. That could and most likely will be the bottom lane. Now Schalke have answered by adding in an Alistar. Or Vander. I mean, this could, you in theory, I mean, can you funnel an Aatrox? Is that what they, I don't think that's the strategy, but
I don't think
I
you
saw the
funnel
Alistar.
I mean, after seeing Rift Rivals and watching Aatrox just destroy every single NA top laner, this has to go into the top lane. It is so strong in the lane. The range you get with the Q, the ability to revive, get back up, run around is so powerful and cannot be underestimated.
Okay, so we do see some more standard things. For Amazing side, he picks himself up the Sejuani. Now, this is a champion that has been in favor of his for some time. Splyce add in a Rumble.
Rumble in the top lane against the Aatrox. I think we actually did see this once or twice over at Rift Rivals, played specifically into the champion. The idea here, I think that Splyce is going to be going for, is hard shove in the top lane. With the Rumble, you should be able to get some sort of control over the minion waves. The issue is that if any sort of fights break out, it's so scary to have an Aatrox go in there, having a Sejuani besides it, as well as a very potent jungler to be able to focus around and build Vizicsacsi a big advantage.
Okay, so clearly there will be a lot of focus from both teams on the Vizicsacsi side, but let's talk a little bit more about just team comps in general, what we're looking to see here. With Odwamne on the Rumble, now that is an old favorite of his. He, of course, brought it back yesterday against Fnatic to great success. There seems to be a lot of AP on the Splyce side, though. What are you looking to see out of them in addition to the 3 champs you've seen so far?
Well, assuming it's Swain in the mid lane, then we need some sort of attack damage threat from either the bottom lane or even Xerxes if you wanted to go for the Camille. We have seen that played into the Sejuani, or even something along the lines of the Kindred would actually be a very strong champion, I feel like, for Xerxes if he wants to have a little bit more ability to carry himself and deal out the damage. The other thing I want to bring up here, because I see Nukeduck with the Smite, is there's a possibility of mid-lane Aatrox. We've seen this actually in some eastern regions, the LPL, I know for sure, with the Smite. And you can use that, take Hunter's Talisman, get level 2, just dominate the mid lane, but Schalke are going to have to decide in this next rotation what exactly they're going to be doing there.
Well, they do lock the Vladimirian, but that's something we've been seeing in the bottom lane as well. And the Mundo gets locked in, so it is going to be a mid lane Aatrox for Nukeduck. It is Saturn Duck. Ugh, I can't make myself.
No, just don't do it. Just let that one fly.
All right. But enough about that. It's mid lane Aatrox. We'll see it. What's going to be the answer? Is this going to be versus the Swain, or do they take something else for Niski?
This is very much the Goon Squad comp over from Schalke. All these melee champions looking for the team fights, but our eyes are stuck on towards that matchup, and that means it will be Swain against Aatrox in the middle lane. 2 of our most recent reworks clashing against each other in a sustained battle, but
does the loser get reworked again?
I think so. That's what we're deciding with this matchup here, Pyra.
Good. I'm glad we've settled that already, and the Balance team is shaking their heads in disgust. But for Splyce's side, it seems like their team fight is also going to be pretty terrifying. There will be some solid mid-game play if Splyce are not too far behind in the landing phase to make it happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting because these fights are surely going to last such a ridiculously long time because both sides have tools to stall out. For Schalke, it's the Aatrox, the Revive passive, they have the Vladimir too with the Sustain, and over on the side of Splyce, they've got Kindred ultimate, they've got Swain, similar idea there. That these fights are going to drag on for a very long time and come down to all the tiny little mechanical plays where if you can burst someone out, you get a massive advantage.
The crowd is certainly pumped up for this one. It's going to be a very tough matchup for both teams. Remember, it's very important to try and pick up that win. Everybody wants to win the games, but you're sitting currently at 3 and 4 apiece. You round this one out with a victory and you find yourself 4 and 4. You're still in a very competitive playoff position. For Schalke, going all in on this mid lane Aatrox and Nuke Duck, who was the hero of the last game, the subject of the funnel. For Splyce's side, more traditional team fighting. I do like it, but we'll have to see how it all happens when they leave it all on the Rift.
They definitely will. Splyce wanting to continue with this momentum they gained back in week 3, the victory against Team Liquid at Rift Rivals, and the domination of Fnatic in their game versus them yesterday. This is a revived Splyce roster, all off the backs of Niski and Xerxes, moving forward and trying to reclaim their spot, battling for the top of Europe.
Okie dokie, we are on to Summoner's Rift for Schalke No Fear versus Splyce. Splyce, of course, yeah, coming back heroes from Rift Rivals. They had gone 2-0 the week before, so if you kind of take things all together, they've strung themselves 3 victories here after a very rough start to the split, turning things in their favor. And a lot of it has been between their mid laner, the jungler, and also scrolled on up to the top because Odoamne's had some good plays himself.
Yeah, Xerxes has definitely done a good job of playing around him, but want to hone in on this Aatrox pick in the mid lane because you look at it and you're like, what the heck is going on right there? He's got Smite, he started with Hunter's Talisman, he will be starting on the Raptor camp. This is something we've seen on a few different champions, namely the Talon. With Smite, we also saw Jizuke play the Echo and do it yesterday. The general idea is you take Smite, you take the Talisman, so you take Raptors at level 1. That will give you the level 2, and you can use that to get lane control over the middle lane and continue to absorb some resources from your jungler.
And starting things off, we'll be there uninterrupted for now, but you do see Niski waiting in the wings. Let's see if he decides to go in. He will be spotted on that ward. Trying to get the interrupt off. Instead, though, it's just going to be him spotting things out. And there's that Darkened Blade combo, level 1. Niski trying to steal away, give a little bit of harassment there. Smite comes down. That's level 2 versus level 1, though.
And Niski got absolutely nothing for that, and Nuke Duck put a point in the E, so he's going to get a ton of damage.
Jeez. Oh, jeez. Is this going to be first? No, it's so close, but Niski gets absolutely shut down by a level 2 Aatrox.
It's Saturday of the Duck. Oh man, and Niski, he's lucky he has teleport because he's going to come back into lane and be okay, but now you have to assume, you have to assume that Amazing's going to be playing around him. Nuke Duck has already hit level 3 at 2 minutes and 10 seconds into the game. That is disgusting to go against, and you see he walks straight into the enemy jungle. He can now counter away camps from Xerxes and continue to build on this advantage.
Yeah, I don't know if Niski's going to be honestly okay. After that, I would need like a cup of cocoa. But let's talk about what this Aatrox, what this big rework can do. We've seen it at Rift Rivals, we've seen it in other regions, but let's talk about the Aatrox rework.
Well, he used to use that right-click button a lot. Now he doesn't. It's all about the Q. And really what that means here is one of the... So I'm going to go step back from this a little bit. We've seen Aatrox in the top lane, in the mid lane, but also with the rework, it was important that this champion could still jungle. And that meant that a ton of damage had to be loaded onto his Q so that he could actually clear camps. That means that him against Raptor Camp, he just actually destroys it because he has no other spells that realistically deal good damage in the jungle. So he can, put his hand in both places. He can take some of the jungle camps with relative ease and also clear those minions in the mid lane.
Not to mention Amazing playing a champion that really just needs to be able to get in, get the engages going. Doesn't need to have a ton of damage, so very good combination from Schalke No Fear here. You take a look at what's happening on the rest of the map at the moment, despite the mid lane almost fiasco, I wanted to say. Vizichachi's finding himself really hard pushed in by Odoamne's Rumble. Makes a lot of sense. Mundo, one of those exploitable champions in the early stages of the game before he has access to his ultimate.
Right now my eyes are on Xerxes because he's actually traveling through this top lane at the moment, likely just giving some security for Odoamne to continue shoving this on board because it can be relatively risky to try and dive in the early game before level 6 on the Kindred before you have access to that Lamb's Respite.
Meanwhile, down on the bottom side of the map, things relatively even. Although Upset does find himself down in farm versus the Lovers bot lane. Now Xerxes, he's wrapped around. See if they feel keen enough to dive. Vizichachi only on half his health. He does chug a potion.
Chachi feels like he's low enough that they can potentially look for a dive, but there's still a large minion wave they're going to have to clear away on the side of Splyce.
Speaking of dive, here we go. They go in. Bop, Kabi, left, right, center, flashing forward. There's a 2-man knock-up on the grand entrance, but will it be enough? Kabi's going to fall. That's first blood to Amazing.
Very nicely played by Vander to set up that play. Amazing comes in on the follow-through. And Splyce, even though they knew Amazing was there because they had the ward and the tri-brush, were still caught off guard because Vander immediately pulled the trigger.
I really like this out of Schalke No Fear. Yesterday, we saw them execute a funnel comp, but do it in a very slow manner. They weren't taking a lot of risks. It seemed like they didn't even know necessarily how far ahead they were. But now, they're making plays together early and often. This is the kind of thing we wanted to see out of Schalke all split.
It absolutely is, and all off the back of Amazing now, making that play in the bottom lane, teaming up with Vander. Nukeduck as well. He's level 6 in this middle lane. That is absolutely nuts because Niski is still about halfway towards that level 6 point himself, and Nukeduck can walk up here and team up with Amazing.
All right, Otowane still sitting on level 5. This is going to be the big difference with that ultimate. If he was looking to end the world there, that is actually, I've gotten confirmation from our stats team, the fastest time anyone has made it to level 6 since they've been tracking the stat.
Wow, and that includes funnel comps. Remember these guys that are running around the map?
Hey man, you got to share experience in a funnel comp.
Exactly. The weakness of the funnel comp is that when you're in mid lane, you've got a support next to you. He's trying to steal those stats. Now Vander using the Hex Flash. They're looking for the flashless Otowane up top side.
Might be able to do him. Looks like he could be in for some pinball. Flashing forward. There's the briefcase. Hit some Amazing is here as well. They've got the knockup. Xerxes coming in for a little bit of respite. Will he be able to find it? Kasing has as well. Otowane walks out. Oh, his team saved his life, and Xerxes turns it all around, killing Vizichachi.
That was nuts.
That was clutch.
Otowane lives just a sliver of HP. The teleport from Kasing, something we saw Mickey X do yesterday. And now so many supports, I think, around the world are learning that teleport is a really powerful tool. He gets up top lane, bails Otowane out of a tough situation, and turns away with a kill.
Yeah, nicely done. Giving the assist over to Otowane as well, who's had a little bit of a rough start. Had a little bit of a rough minute because he was doing pretty well against the Mundo early, but now you've got level 6 versus level 5. Odo is actually going to have to take it back up. Now he's got access to that equalizer. But the game is very even, despite Schalke's gold lead. A lot of it is really resting in Nukeduck in mid lane.
Yeah, it's all on Nukeduck in the mid lane. Already up 25 CS, and you just have to keep your eyes on him. How many times is he going into his own jungle to take camps away from Amazing? Because while that does put Amazing, a little bit behind, you'd imagine, it's a Sejuani. So she's really just there for the utility of the ultimate. He can definitely scoop up a lot more of those resources. And I really like these moves out of Schalke, like we see right here, because their strength as a team is Amazing and Vander roaming around the map and making plays together. But that is immediately shut down with this teleport from Kasing. Xerxes is also here to stop the counter gank in the top lane, just like we saw him do yesterday when he shut down Fnatic's attempts to lock up Otowane, and he just keeps making it happen again and again. He knows exactly where the enemy jungler is going to be.
That was the closest thing, though, and the craziest part about it was that Kasing actually goes in with the grand entrance instead of doing the battle dance first, the thing that gives the shield. He goes in for the knockup, buys just enough time for Odo to walk away from that one, and that's the difference. So 1-1 to kills at 7.5 minutes. I feel like we're going to have a lot more explosive action as this game goes on.
And Nukeduck now has that Warrior Enchantment. The best stat you can possibly have on Aatrox is cooldown reduction. Very often in top lane, you'd see the build be Black Cleaver into Death's Dance, and they'll also run the Transcendence rune for that extra 10% CDR for a very early 40%, so you can get those Qs out as fast as possible. The Warrior Enchant, very cheap CDR option, and with Black Cleaver likely coming in next for him, that'll be a very important spike on this champion.
Yes, indeed. Now Nukeduck can go roaming once more. Joining up with Amazing to help get that Scuttle Vision secured. So we talked a lot about this Aatrox. We talked a lot about how Schalke and their mid lane has been a big win condition for them. But looking across the board, it seems like they have a team fight that come the mid game, come the late game, should be able to match what Schalke is, or what Splyce is bringing as well. Yes. So are they confident to just kind of sit here and let things stack up?
I think Schalke definitely have to be. They've got that 1,000 gold lead at the moment, and Nukeduck constantly controls mid lane. What they're going to be doing is using that control to make plays across the map. Right now, Nukeduck and Amazing are teaming up topside, but Xerxes knows what's going on. He snuck his way into the lane, and if Schalke were to step forward, it might have been a big mistake.
Chachi, he's stepping forward himself and burning Agony on. Xerxes jumps out the brushes. That's a lot of damage. Equalizer thrown down in his path. Is he going to be able to heal it all up? Oh! Crucial Glacial Prison, but it's not going to be enough. Xerxes steps forward and launches just enough arrows into the back of Chachi to get the kill.
Beautifully done, time and time again for Xerxes, playing around Otowane in the top lane. Splyce looked completely different when Xerxes is the one stepping up. In losses, almost non-existent on the map. Half a kill or assist at 15 minutes when he's winning, and when Splyce is winning, 3.3 kills and assists at 15. A completely different Xerxes is the key and the difference maker between Splyce winning games and Splyce losing games.
And also, with Odoamne, the difference between him being able to make these plays early on and comboing up, there's a reason we call them the Roaring Romanian Duo. These guys look so good together when they're both making these big plays. Now, Nukeduck will get pulled back by the never-moving Niski. Still keeping up, but only one level behind. Niski still had a little bit of a rougher time in this one, but you were right. He was okay after the level 1.
Yeah, I mean, he's okay in the sense that he's not going to be dying. He played very respectfully in the laning phase, but he rarely ever has push priority in this lane. You can see he's already down 30 CS because of the way that Nukeduck has been able to farm some of those jungle camps, and that will continue to happen. Niski will be relatively quiet in this game, I feel like, until Splyce can maybe get some team fights of their own, where then he can have that larger impact.
Well, and the item spikes, the stacking. He's got the Rod of Ages on. Now Odo's in trouble once again. Here comes Amazing up towards the top. Does not have an easy point of ingress. Chachi stacking this wave. Odo, he's going to have some help. Teleport's coming up. His Equalizer not off cooldown, but there's going to be one matching. And so double Mukau as well. Niski, oh, this could be trouble right now. Schalke brought way more friends to this party, but Kavi's even in there as well. Amazing starts off and finally kill onto Odoamne. And Schalke, Goon Squad indeed. Goodbye, Niski. Double kill for the Aatrox.
That damage out of Nukeduck is absolutely disgusting. So much work done by the Aatrox. But you can see Schalke's comp is very good at diving turrets. The sustain you get out of the Aatrox as well as the Mundo means they can tank that up for forever, pick up a couple of kills.
All right, so they take themselves tower number 1 as well as 3 quick kills. Splyce. It was a nice play to try and give some relief to Odoamne react a little bit, but Schalke just had the plan on lockdown. Let's take a look at that again.
Yeah, you see, of course, 3 members of Splyce back in the base. The rest of Schalke is on the map. Are like, what can we do? We can dive onto this top lane. The Rumble, very little stats this early in the game to be able to survive it out. And even though multiple teleports come on in, the turret diving potential from Schalke is simply too strong with All-Star Ultimate as well. It's crazy. And what is that damage from Nukeduck? That is ridiculous.
Yeah, and good juggling of the aggro too. Everyone from Schalke kind of ended a little bit low, but you take that long of a fight under tower and you still come out that far ahead. They now find themselves about 2,500 gold in the lead at 12 minutes into this game, and Schalke playing with much more confidence. This is a Schalke no fear that we have rarely seen.
And we're going to need to see them try to take those mid-game fights. I think in yesterday's game, they were very comfortable scaling up into late game because they were the ones running the funnel strategy themselves. But now, their composition with the power in Aatrox, with items coming through, should definitely be looking for many more of these scrappy fights come the mid-game.
Yep. Just about everybody participating in all these fights. Nukeduck looking for the 1v1, pulls him back in with those chains. Vander was even waiting in the wings to see if he could assist Nukeduck a little bit on this. And in the meantime, Amazing getting solo time on the Rift Herald as well. So Schalke not just getting the kills, starting to get these objectives stacking up. You can see them moving into the jungle, getting wards down to top it off. They're taking control of this game.
They absolutely are. And one of the niche things you get when you don't run a marksman in the bottom lane, when you have someone like the Vladimir, is you have effectively 3 different champions that can go into side lanes and work very well by themselves. And what that means is that you can have Upset go into a side lane. Vander doesn't have to babysit him. All of a sudden, Vander is unlocked to roam around the map and make those plays that he's been going for so consistently in this game. And that's not going to end anytime soon. He's always going to be on the offensive, seeing what's going to be coming next.
What is coming next right now is the Rift Herald, as it charges headfirst into the tower, making that a clean 2 for Schalke no fear. Vander finds Odoamne. Nukeduck is going to get that umbral dash over the wall, and it's a world ender, and it's the end of Odoamne's world. 3-on-1 ain't fair, man.
Yeah, it's just the dives in the bottom lane. This guy is stuck out by himself. It's the only outer turret left. So, of course, Odoamne is going to want to go up and get those minions that crash on into it. But Vander was inside that side of the jungle. There's just no vision really protecting Odoamne in his side lane, even though Splyce had done a very good job of playing around him early on. That seems to have gone out the window now that Schalke have opened up the map.
Yeah, nowhere is safe right now. Now, for Splyce, let's look at what's going right for these guys, because it is easy to kind of lose track of that when you see Schalke stacking these good plays together. Obviously, quite a lot's going wrong. But they still have Xerxes, has these 2 critical kills. This is a guy we've been talking about. His early performance has been so critical to Splyce's game. In the later stages, that can translate to quite a lot more damage. The Xayah is starting to stack up as well. The Stormrazor, of course, being completed, and Niski getting stacks on his Rod of Ages. So they're ramping up. Question is, how are they going to put all those pieces together for a successful fight?
Oh, that's going to be a tough one. It feels like the engage really has to fall onto Kasing and Odwamne. The equalizer laying that down on top of multiple charmed up targets is sort of the dream case scenario for Splyce, but it does become a little bit difficult from there because they don't have a lot of tools to peel their backline. Realistically, Kabe and Xerxes are going to be dishing out a ton of damage to Schalke's front line, but they don't really have that great a front line themselves, which means it's very easy for the divers of Schalke to get on top of them and shut them down.
Yeah, that's tense. And you mentioned it being all about the the long kind of drawn-out engages, or at least in Schalke's case, trying to find those picks. I wonder though, like is there a way for them to maybe melt through some of the self-healing? Like, what are they going to be doing as opposed to just trying to get the burst out? We're looking at some Executioner's Callings and stuff. Excuse me. Mortal Remind.
Mortal Remind, I mean, Executioner's Calling is going to do the same exact thing, and that very much should be coming through soon for these players. I think Xerxes has the right idea, going for the Blood Razor against 5 targets that are going to be building a whole lot of HP, and definitely going to need Umbrella Nomicon perhaps for Niski, and an Executioner's on top of that.
Big shopping list. Gotcha. So it's going to be a little while, but Kabe and Kasing do have a plan to get themselves a kill. 2 birds in a brush.
It's not going to happen.
Nope. Wait.
I don't think so. Because Amazin's right here. This is spooky. They can go for the all-in again, but Schalke, with the control they have over the map, it's a very quick rotation that they can make to stop him. And with Aatrox, it's very hard to lock him down.
They got one. Let's see if they're able to get enough damage as soon as Amazing leaves. But there's the World Ender. He is rooted in place for just a moment, resurrecting. Waiting to go over that wall in just a second. He does dash it, but he's going to get shut down. Kasing picks the kill.
Okay, so Amazing backed away. That's exactly when Splyce went in. Nicely done from them. Nukeduck didn't want to burn his flash. He will hold on to that for another day. And Splyce, if they can stall out a little bit longer, try to mitigate their losses. They're down 5,000 gold at the moment. But they do have a marksman. They do have 2 marksmen. That's a lot of scaling on their side. They just can't get in too much of a hole.
Yeah. We'll have some mid-game power too. Odwamne. I've been talking about item power spikes when the Hunter's Torments come in. Now the Mountain Drake's pretty important, but it doesn't look like Splyce are in a position to try and contest this one, so they are going to leave it be easy pickup for Schalke, no fear, and that lead will continue to grow. And a lot of that gold though is in the tower difference. Splyce haven't been able to secure a single one on the map just yet, not for lack of trying, but just because Schalke have been much more Johnny on the spot.
Yeah, if you're looking at individual members on different sides, about 1,300 in Vizicachi and his lead over Odwamne. Mid lane as well is a pretty sizable clip, almost 1,500 between Nukeduck and Niski. And Nukeduck has put his money into the right places, does have that Black Cleaver completed, which means that he's going to be topping off with about 30% CDR at the moment. And that's pretty good if you're him. Death Stance will be the next one, and with that 40%, he's gonna have all the sustain in the world to be an absolute monster in these fights.
Yeah, that's just items. He's consistently been at least 1 level ahead of everybody on the Splyce side. He's 3 levels ahead of some of the members, even 4 if you count Kasing. So Nukeduck is definitely a terror at this point, raid boss if you will. The rest of Schalke is nothing to sneeze at. They're mostly focusing on trying to push the wave in the mid lane. But Splyce, where can they really look to play through right now? Like, they need to find a tower somewhere, but it seems like everything's well enough defended.
Right. Again, all the playmaking from Splyce has to come through Kasing, and now that he doesn't have his flash, it's a little bit more difficult. But you can see, again, he's trying to hover around Kabe, maybe look for another move like they did onto Nukeduck a moment before, because there's really no other great way for Splyce to start off any of these engagements.
All right. Schalke, they can find pretty much whatever they please, but they don't need to push too far in. This is the more conservative Schalke that we've seen before, but they already have built up this big lead. We're not even 20 minutes into this game yet, and they can afford to just wait it out and bait these fights. Vander, Amazing in the brush. Nukeduck sitting apparently out in the open. Nothing to really push, but Splyce won't pull the trigger just yet.
And it might look like Schalke have just slowed down completely and aren't looking to make any plays themselves, and that could be a point of criticism. What they're really waiting for, actually.
That was an amazing ult.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that was ambitious out of them to try and lock down Kasing, but really, it's Baron in a minute. They have so much control over this top side of the jungle that they can and will kill any Splyce members that enter. Unfortunately, now they don't have a Sejuani ult, which will make that a little bit tougher.
Yeah, I do think Splyce, if they want to try and contest an early Baron attempt, would be in some trouble if they didn't bring Otawamne to the party, much less Xerxes as well. But he's sitting in the bottom dealing with Vizichachi. We've seen what happens when a Mundo doesn't get sufficiently shut down. And, well, he's got a level advantage on Odo. He's got his Spirit Visage. This guy's not going to die anytime soon.
Luckily, Splyce have a lot of different sources of damage to try and shut him down, but it does become an issue once he has that Sunfire Cape on top of the magic resistance as well, and he can just tank up all of these shots coming through from Splyce. That becomes very, very spooky when he's running into your face and you don't have anyone to protect you.
Very true. And that's the issue. Splyce, you mentioned frontline, just not necessarily all that there for them. They need to get into the back line and melt through everyone else. But Chachi is just going to be able to run amok through them at the time being. So this gold lead still sitting at about 5,000, just shy. Splyce looking to sniff forward to see if they can get a little bit of vision on this Baron, not let Schalke start it in the dark. Still very early into the game, of course, but with the gold lead that Schalke have, they could bait this one.
Yeah, it's important right now, the vision that Kasing is putting down around this Baron area to try and make sure Schalke couldn't sneak that away from underneath Splyce's nose. But getting a little bit worried because Splyce still don't have any form of Executioner's Culling or Mortal Mind or anything like that to cut down the healing on the side of Schalke. And they have 3 champions that absolutely love it. Mundo, Aatrox, and the Vladimir definitely need to be shut down with some Grievous Wounds.
Let's see if they can get a quick execution of themselves, but as soon as Kasing goes in, Duke Duck starts flying around that map, and neither Kabi or Kasing want any part of that. Vander also kind of moving forward as well. So Splyce are still, they're trying to find these picks, but they just don't have the damage to really pull it off right now, and it kind of feels like they're living a little more optimistically than they should.
Yeah, we've only seen 8 kills this game. You know what would be fun, Pyra?
More kills?
More kills, but what if Aatrox had an ultimate that just made everyone come in and party and fight? Well, that might just happen because Schalke have started up this Baron, although Niski scouts it out. Division of Empire.
Yeah, Schalke are going to peel off this one. Again, this is the conservative play. This is the smart play. Schalke are trying not to lose their lead, but is this giving Splyce the time they need to eventually match them in the later stages of the game? If they don't face check, that is.
I mean, yes and no. I think both teams are sort of comfortable playing it very slow right now, but I want blood. What I was going to say is I want the Carnage Zone. Me and Riot Jag, actually the lead designer on Aatrox, got to catch up before the show, and there's a fun interview you can check out over on youtube.com/LOL Esports, where we talk all about a ton of those crazy ultimates that almost made it into the game.
Names.
And their names. We got gold all on my chains for the W. There's so many crazy things that almost made it, and there's also clips from some of those playtests that I was actually in, Pyra.
Yeah, you guys should definitely check that one out. And also bonus points if you actually spot Ender in the chat window. He's not the easiest one to find.
Forget what I'm saying. I think I'm saying something ridiculous, talking about how a skin looks very pretty or something.
When are you never doing that?
All the time.
Yeah, it's okay. It's a positive. Trust me.
That's good.
Yeah. So now Baron isn't the only objective that's going to be spawning on the map, by the way. We've got an Infernal Dragon coming up in about 30 seconds, and you know Schalke would love to get their hands on it. They've got the map control to do it as well. So the question is, does Splyce feel like they can maybe make their stand there, or are they just going to slowly seed these objectives over?
I mean, if you look at the items coming through, Schalke all have their second completed. Splyce, their team fight is very difficult to actually execute. That is one of the things that happens when you don't run, multiple tanks in your composition. In the case of Splyce, no real true tank on their side. Kasing is going to be the one trying to set up these fights, but if he ever makes a mistake and gets caught out, that's going to be very, very detrimental to anything that Splyce is trying to accomplish.
What they're trying to accomplish now is just make sure that the vision is secured, but this opens the window for Vizichachi and Amazing to two-man the Infernal Drake. It's picked up in addition to the Mountain. That's going to allow them to have that additional AD and AP, scaling further and further into the later stages of the game.
Yeah, so for Splyce, what can they actually do right now to change something up? And I think that's get control over your topside jungle. They have a lot of good vision now. They could honestly set up in one of these brushes because we know that Amazing has constantly been walking in. Schalke want deep vision for themselves, but it becomes very difficult to do that unless they have mid lane priority. So they're going to have to constantly be battling for that, battling for the shoving wave, and then they can try and move in some of their own control wards and perhaps set up a pick. But we've already mentioned it is so hard to single out any one of the members on Schalke's side.
Singling out, that's kind of the key thing here, because they have been kind of tag teaming a little bit. Like you roam in like one or two, but then you always have somebody that's within enough range to do it. And this does seem to be a strength that Schalke have developed over the time they had away from Rift Rivals. While Splyce eventually became the heroes of EU by taking down Team Liquid last week, Schalke were kind of hard at work, and we thought, okay, well, you know, they picked up the funnel comp. These guys have definitely worked on and added some new tools to their repertoire, but this is a whole nother story too. Clearly the Aatrox is going to be on people's minds, but running it in the mid lane, watching the other regions that have picked it up, and running this type of composition is also something new for them.
Right, and what I think a lot of people will see this and go, Splyce, you know, assuming, you know, this game goes poorly, continues to go poorly. They left open the Aatrox. That was the issue for them in this game. But I think that takes credit away from Schalke where it is due, because Nukeduck has looked very good on this champion. Amazing, and Vander playing around the top side of the map as well have looked very, very good for Schalke. That's a big takeaway for a team that's fighting right now to break free of the middle of the pack spot that they find themselves in.
Yeah, both teams at that 3-4 mark, trying to end the week with a 2-0. Getting into the mid, let's see, we got themselves 2 members on the Baron. It's starting. It's very slow take, but there isn't any vision on this. Splyce don't necessarily know this is happening. They see the Aatrox up towards the top. They see 2 in the middle. So while this is a very slow Baron take, it's a very safe one because there's no reaction out of Splyce.
I mean, Splyce have Vision of Empire. They have 2 blue orbs up, but it's down to 4K. This is too late.
Yeah, absolutely. They finally popped this one on. They'd have to have a Miracle of a Steal. Now Xerxes wants to go over the wall. It's not going to happen way too late. And now the fight is going to be on. Lamtra's bite is not going to buy you enough time. And there are a lot of Schalke members nuking down the rest of Splyce. That's a shutdown for Upset on his opposite number, and here we go, popping up with the Bloodwell in the World Ender form, looking for Kabi, the double kill. Odawamne falling down as well, and Nukeduck might have fallen, but Splyce got nuke dunked.
Yeah, welcome to the Aatrox bounce house right there. Knocks up all the time. And Schalke with the Baron, they're going to be looking for an inhibitor, Pyra.
Yeah, there's no one here to stop him right now, so that tower is going to fall. Baron buff is on, 4 members strong, and they could just march these minions right into the base for the next minute or so, next 15 seconds before any Splyce members can respond. That's easy inhibitor take.
It looked slow. A lot of Schalke fans were probably a little bit nervous that that lead hadn't started to take off for Schalke, but they baited Baron, they started up, pulled off. Every single time Splyce put down Vision onto it, and then the one time they're a little bit too late, that's when they lock it down and win the big fight.
Very well calculated, very well planned, and most importantly, well executed for Schalke No Fear.
Yep, eyes on Vander right here to stop Xerxes from getting into the pit. Big knock-up coming through, and after that, Splyce, again, they're caught in this tight choke point. They want to be, you know, using their range to stay away from the divers on the side of Schalke, but you can't stay away from an Aatrox. Even when he dives, he's still trying to chase after you, and without a front line to protect them, the carries on the side of Splyce just go down.
So even though they got the Aatrox at the end, didn't really matter. A little too little, a little too late. And now Schalke fully in the driver's seat. 9,000 gold, the lead. 27.5 minutes. There is a ray of sunshine for Splyce, and it's that we finally get to see our Executioner's calling. That's picked up by Kabi. But I don't know if that's going to be enough to cut down the healing.
Hey, it finally happened. That's what we needed to see, but Xing cannot get caught out.
Well, that's quickness. Not quick enough. He does make his escape, though. That's crucial.
Drops the cowbell on him as Vander. He's feeling good about this game, and I think Splyce definitely should be feeling good. They're up 9,000 gold at the moment. There's no engage left for Xing. He doesn't have flash, he doesn't have the quickness, so this siege should be relatively easy for Schalke.
This is the best Schalke have looked since re-entering the LCS. I mean, let's not forget that the spring split was, by all means, a disaster for this team. The summer split, the start looked to maybe repeat that trend, but if they win this game here today, they find themselves 4-4 at the end of week 4. This is fantastic, and the way that they're executing against a team like Splyce that's been on the up and up, even more impressive.
Yeah, especially trying to shut down the momentum from Splyce, one of their direct competitors fighting for that same spot in the standings. The one difficulty Schalke have with these turrets is that they don't have any range, but they're so strong, they're just walking up and taking the turrets down anyways.
Yeah, Vizichachi pretty easy for him to do now. The Rumble ultimate gets thrown down. Vizichachi's going to have to walk right over it. He's still got plenty of healing. That tower will stand for 1 or 2 more hits, but meanwhile, Vander and Amazing in the mid. Inhib has already fallen down, and this one, it looks like another will be as well. Splyce bleeding out objectives at the moment. These guys did not manage to find a tower this game. We haven't really been talking about it, Ender, but this is 4 kills shy of a perfect game for Schalke.
Schalke and the Dragon, you have to give Splyce some credit there, but Schalke are just running through the base at the moment. The third inhibitor is going to go down easily, and Splyce don't have any response.
They have to find a kill. Nuke Duck nearly going to fall, but no, there's the Bloodwell. And it looks like Splyce bet it all to try and end it right here, right now. And it looks like it's not going to go their favor. Hemoplague goes down, the double kill for Upset. And it is upsetting for Splyce, but for Schalke No Fear fans, this is redemption. They will close out the week 2-0. A phenomenal play. First the funnel, then the Aatrox. Well, it's certainly the week of the Duck, and it's the week of Schalke.
And the Nexus to boot right there. All off the back of Nuke Duck. It really did feel like yesterday's match, he was the one getting funneled. Today, he still has the smite, but he's playing a different style, using that Aatrox to absolute perfection. And tells everyone out there, you don't want to leave that champion up. He seems to be pretty strong at the moment.
100% win rate in the ULCS.